How do you handle a bad leader above you?
I've actually lived through such a thing. That's a real challenge because leaders can be bad in a lot of ways. First, you got to be patient. And I think the what's missing metaphor works there as well. Most leaders don't get in a position without having at least some good leadership qualities. But because there's such a need, the tendency is to give leadership positions as rewards, not necessarily for good leadership behavior, but for other accomplishments. In fact, it's very common for that to happen. In the software world, it's not uncommon to take your very best programmer and make them in charge of the programming group. Wow. Programming and leadership, you can find some parallels. I'm sure there's some neat analogies that somebody could work out, but they're actually really two different disciplines, and those folks tend to really struggle at that point. So with a bad boss, usually what's happened is they've been put in, they're out of their depth. So again, if you can figure out what they're missing and you can provide that, you can make up the difference. There's a couple ways that can have effect. One, just exemplifying what needs to happen. So if you've got a manager, a boss in whatever form that really has trouble working with agendas, and you understand the power of an agenda to keep things brief and to keep things on track. If you show up to meetings with an agenda, you've provided what was missing in that meeting. And so you take on an emerging leadership role. Now you have to be careful that that's not resented by the person, but if done gently and with the right spirit, genuinely trying to help that person, the tendency is for them to just appreciate, again, you're providing what's missing for them. You'll make them better. And then you get to have a better leader. I also really believe in letting data tell the story. As you collect and see what's happening around, and when you just don't have that support from a leader, if you've got the ability to bring forward the situation in a way that essentially speaks for itself, you can champion that data without risking yourself in a situation where it really is a risk because you don't have the power. Bringing good data to people, when you can be counted on to bring good data, frame it correctly and in a useful manner, again, if that's what's missing, that will be valuable and you therefore will be valuable. People will come to trust you to bring that point of view. Even a bad boss can use good data. And so when you're the source of good data, that really helps. One of the things you can't do is you can't commiserate with others about that boss's shortcomings. It just doesn't do you any good. It's very cathartic and it feels good in the moment. And you may feel like you're rallying support in some revolutionary cause against this person, but you're not serving them any longer. And they still have power that you don't have. You can generate some offsetting power and enhance the arms race of that conflict, but a greater conflict at higher levels of meanness, of whatever goes into that. It's just the wrong way to solve it. I think a service attitude, again, I'm repeating myself a lot, but to find what's missing and provide that will in fact make you valuable. And even if that leader doesn't see it, generally speaking, the people around see it. And at some point, someone will pluck you out of there and put you where you need to go. In my own personal experience, what happened was the powers that were at that time recognized the deficit and what was going wrong, and they plucked that person out and made a change because this individual really was kind of dysfunctional, had some personal issues, had a great experience, a lot of reasons that they should have and could have succeeded. They just simply weren't able to. And so they had to be removed.